Love Thy Neighborhood is sponsored by FreeNow, the mobility super app. I like to think of myself as a kind of urban warlock, navigating the city streets, unlocking e-scooters, black cabs and e-bikes across London with just a few taps and swipes, thanks to a certain mobility super app. And I can choose to travel in vehicles with electric or hybrid engines to do my part for the environment, because this warlock is a green warlock. One app, more ways to travel. Feel free now.
She'd find a turd behind a bus stop and she'd run off with it like it was a
Yeah.
prize. It was some sort of game and we're chasing after saying, drop the turd. They love it. It's like a high-value treat.
Good afternoon, good evening, good whatever. My name is Joe Makatich, the Big Dog at Time Out London, and you're listening to Love Thy Neighborhood, the podcast in which someone with a keener mind and a danker soul than myself gives me a guided tour of an area that means a lot to them. One place, 4 locations that they would give their own 5-star rating to. 5 stars, of course, is what we do at Time Out. If we like something, a bar, a restaurant, gallery, we take a big mouthful of stars, swish it up, and then carefully dribble out 5 of them, changing the course of history forever. Today, we're in Hoxton. Yeah, skinny jeans and well-kept beards, Plastic People nightclub, the Hoxton Finn haircut, named after the area. It was sort of synonymous with a kind of fairly fictitious hipsterism a while ago, which has kind of come to pass a little bit, doesn't really exist anymore. But before that, it's been absolutely tons of things. It was, of course, where the other Jacobean playwright, Ben Jonson, shanked a fool in Hoxton Square a long, long time ago. A lot of it burned down, the Great Fire of London, and when they rebuilt it, they wanted it to be a very posh area, but they didn't get very far before the money ran out, and the only bit now, which looks like they wanted it to look, is de Beauvoir Square, which is much, much further up. Victorian times, music halls, theatres, that sort of stuff. Dickens wrote about it. The Krays lived not too far away. Well, they were born there anyway. It was described as an anxious, motley place at the time. The Luftwaffe bombed it to bits. In the 90s, it was one of the first places to actually sort of be victim to what everyone refers to as gentrification. And that was after these so-called young British artists all came here and sort of exploded here. There was a very famous curator who died young, sadly, Joshua Compton, and his gallery was here. He was based here. He had a very famous show, A Fate Worse Than Death, in Hoxton Square, where absolutely everyone who would go on the next year to be at the Sensations exhibition in Royal Academy first appeared. And since then, it's now described as the most expensive tech and creative district in the world. More so than San Francisco, more so than Brooklyn. But the old street roundabout, still not renovated, so some things never change. The person that's brought me here, a very significant figure, he's been on our TVs for probably close to about 25 years, been performing for a lot longer than that. He is, of course, the mind maestro, Derren Brown. His shows are myriad and many: Mind Control, Trick of the Mind, Derren Brown Investigates, Derren Brown Plays Russian Roulette Live, Seance, Heist, The Event, House Control a Nation, The Gathering, so many more. He also consistently tours around the UK, comes up with stage shows, hasn't lost the love of a live audience. Yeah, Derren Brown, what a guy. I'm actually talking to him on the eve of his new show, which is unbelievable, which is just about to start at the Criterion Theatre in Piccadilly. There's not huge amounts of information about what it's about, but it's been described as a magic show like no other. It fuses the best of theatre with illusion, sleight of hand, and mind reading. Great stuff. It's on there for about 6 months. In any case, we've just arrived at our first location. It's a very sunny day, the end of summer, so I'm going to go in and say hi. Okay, Mr. Derren Brown.
Hello.
Where are we and why have you brought me here?
So we're in a cafe called Friends of Ours, which is on Pitfield Street in Hoxton, which is sort of pretty much where I used to live. And I would come here, I think it's safe to say every day. Like, I've been away for a few years, so I've just come back. And it's different, like it's different people, and they're doing their own coffee now, which is really exciting, and the artwork's changed on the walls. But it's a phenomenal place, and the one of the big attractions to me was the bread. So they get their bread from a bakery called the Dusty Knuckle, which is in Dalston, and it is the best bread I have ever had. And I like a bread. I like bread very much.
Is it the potato sourdough?
It's the potato sourdough is what you want. Yeah, I mean all the sourdoughs are great, but the potato sourdough is particularly good. The Dusty Knuckle's interesting because not only is it phenomenal, but they employ people that are out of prison and people that would have difficulty getting back into the workplace and so on. Which, when you say that, makes it sound a little bit like maybe the food isn't going to be great, and maybe it's more about this sort of charitable aspect. But I didn't find out about that bit until much later. I just was in love with their baking. So
there's a sort of association maybe when you know, this is much to all of our discredit. When
Yes.
we hear the word prison, we don't think good food.
we know, or we think maybe it's not going to be about the food, it's going to be about the cause.
The worthiness of the cause.
Yeah, but actually the two things have come together extremely well. And the bread. But I've never been there. I've never been to the Dusty Knuckle. I've only ever had it here, and I loved it. And I lived on this bread when I moved out of London a few years ago. I realised how good it was, because you can't get amazing sour. There's a place in Bristol, I know, Hart's Bakery, which is very good, right by Temple Meads Station. If you ever come out of Temple Meads, it's tucked round the corner, which is also very good, but it doesn't quite touch the stuff they do here.
And when we came in here, you immediately bought some beans,
I
some
did.
coffee beans.
I bought beans. I'm so delighted they're making their own coffee. Here comes my flat white. Look at that. Look at that excellence. Thank you very much. I wish you could see this. I believe that is a tulip.
Yeah, the pattern on the coffee is a lovely tulip.
That's a lovely coffee. Thank you.
Do you favour the milkier coffees?
Yeah, I like a flat white. I went through a thing of stealing cups from cafes around the world that I loved. It would be happy memories, little espresso cups. And then the last time we were in Paris, we'd looked around for a place that would do a really good steak tartare. Eventually found a place, and I'd given up stealing coffee cups by this point. I thought this would be such a great place. It'd been such a great day finding the best place that did it. And there was me and a friend and his girlfriend who was quite quiet, very sort of bookish. They literally run bookshops in Paris. And my friend Christian was trying to get me to steal the cup, and I said, "No, I won't." I was shut, and he said, "No, go on, just do it, just take it." And I went, "No," and I was really umming and ahhing about it. In the end, I was like, "No, I won't do it," and I left without stealing it. And she bloody nicked one.
Wow.
She had one under a newspaper.
Quite funny hearing about you wrestling with peer pressure. But no, also when you first mentioned the thefts, you hesitated slightly, suggesting that you still feel a bit bad about it.
I used to steal a lot. I was a proper shoplifter when I was sort of late teenager. It was that time in the 80s when like gadgets were like a real thing, but they were very expensive. But it was all like gadgety stuff. So I used to just nick it because
Just colourful plastic
Colourful
stuff.
plastic stuff. I remember looking around my bedroom at one point. I was like, yeah, everything I can see, I have stolen.
You were in a sort of den of crime and iniquity.
Yeah, I was in
and then
Purley.
I suppose Hoxton is it's quite an apposite place to move to. Lots
Yeah.
of history of crime and things here.
Very dodgy history. So we moved in when that kind of young British artist Tracy Eminey kind of world had sort of peaked, and I have to say it's a bit of a shame it's lost that really. By the time we moved out, it was kind of like the train from where is it in Essex? Can't remember. There was like a direct line to Liverpool Street, and it became like Hen Night.
It did, yeah.
Hen Night,
I
Central,
think people
which is a
moved from, before that it was Upper Street, where people used to go. This sounds like we're shitting all over people from Essex. And I have to say, I love the Essex folk. I've worked with a great many of them. Very cheerful, very optimistic. But
Essex is beautiful. It gets a bad rap. It's beautiful. But unfortunately, Hen Night's on your doorstep every night of the week. That wasn't great.
And I feel like after here, they sort of went to Kingsland Road. I think now is more like a Hen
Yeah,
Night place.
it's going that way. Eventually it'll be Margate.
It will be
They'll all
Margate
be
eventually.
there. And then in the sea.
Yes.
It's lovely. There's a Curzon Cinema next door to this, which was being built when I was last here. That was a real shame moving out just as they're building a Curzon Cinema on your doorstep. That was very upsetting. But I'm pleased to see they've done that.
Yeah, it looks lovely as well. It's one of the
Yeah.
sort of the nicest, most sort of middle-class cinema chains that people like me sort of patronise.
Love them.
Yeah, with
Really
the sound of people making cocktails in the background as the trailers are coming to an end.
Yeah,
that
it's
sort
the
of-
best.
Where else, when you lived here, did you like to sort of eat or drink?
Well, there's a great Italian, which I nearly went to tonight, called Bottega Prelibato, and that's the unauthentic pronunciation. Bottega Prelibato, which is just down in sort of behind us somewhere, but also in Hoxton. That was lovely. I used to go there a lot. Nobu, very fancy, opened a restaurant there, which was very good. I don't get the attraction of the one in London at all, but the one here was very nice. I say the one in London, the one on what's it?
The big one.
The big one. Yeah, I've never really got that, but the one here was lovely. The sushi was lovely, so I went there occasionally. But we lived just off the square, and it was a shame because these lovely restaurants would open, and then they just couldn't quite hold it together because it was hard for nice restaurants to keep going. It was all
And it was hard enough.
Hen nights and design companies.
Yeah. I was going to ask as well, did this area have some sort of appeal to the stage aficionado in you? Because this place in Victorian times was where the music halls were, it was variety, it was where there was sort of theatres, there's absolutely tons of them when you look into it.
Yeah.
And you're someone that, despite all of the success with the TV and the books, you've never stopped doing stage shows as well.
No, love them.
Were you aware of that when you were
No,
here?
not at all. But there's a little Hoxton Theatre, I think it's called, on Hoxton Street, where David Berglas, who's one of my heroes, performed, and there's a little one, I think it's called the Clock something, I don't know, little place just on the street where we are now. But yes, I never really went to them or explored any of that. You can get onto the canal very easily, which is quite nice. That's a nice weekend walk. It's not very good for walking dogs, that's the only thing around here. And one of the reasons why we ended up moving was we had these 2 dogs, and you only start to realise how much crap and drug stuff and like there is just on the streets and in the grass and everywhere.
I own a dog, and I'm acutely aware of which pubs around like Canonbury have
Yeah.
broken glass in front of them.
Yeah, you suddenly become very aware of that.
Yeah, and you do a kind of weird, very kind of conscious walk where you're just scanning
Yeah.
the pavement at all times for like discarded needles, broken glass, things like that.
And human turds. Let's not be shy.
Let's
because-
not overlook the
no.
excrement.
Because one of our first dog we still have, is a Beagle Basset, so the very nose-scented proper hound. And she was a puppy, and she'd love it. She'd find a homeless person's turd behind a bus stop, and she'd run off with it like it was a
Yeah.
prize. It was some sort of game, and we're chasing after, saying, "Drop the turd." But
I
she didn't know
find
that
my
command.
dog will turn its nose up literally at other dogs' feces, but will be very drawn to human feces.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
feces often, I'm assuming, belonging to maybe the homeless or a drug addict and things like that.
Yes.
So
I think that's probably the good stuff, because it's quite Moorish, I'd
it's,
imagine.
it's absolutely, once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
But I've had to try and wean him off the human excrement.
They love it. It's like a high-value treat. Sort of thing you have to have in your pocket on reserve. For,
Yeah, and
calling
they
them back.
wonder why people who own dogs have been excommunicated from society. So we're walking around with 2 pockets of human crap the whole time. Why do you keep going back to the stage? I'm not really that much of a magic aficionado, but I do know that like you're not necessarily part of the magic community in the same way that the people in the magic circle sort of all hang out together. You're sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Is that right?
Yeah, certainly because I've never joined anything. I'm just whatever, slightly something. I've got a bit of an allergy to joining stuff. So no, I never did. But I do think if you make the thing that you do, whether it's journalism or whether it's magic, if it's all you kind of have and it feels bigger than you, then it's hard to move it anywhere. I think you want to have 1 foot in it and then 1 foot in the rest of life, and then you've got a bit of leverage to kind of move it somewhere. So I think also it's quite a childish thing, isn't it? It's a childish and dishonest thing. So unless you can find a way of making it grown up and honest, doing something honest with it, then you should grow out of it. And I would have grown out of it if it hadn't been for the fact, I guess, my career had taken off. And I thought it would be silly just to walk away from this now. So maybe I can try and find other things I can bring to it and make it a bit more interesting. So that's kept me going and has made it feel worthwhile.
What do you think would have happened had you not kept going? What kind of career path would have appealed to you?
I don't know. I was supposed to be a lawyer. I studied law and German. Did not want to be a lawyer or a German. So yeah, I had no fun with that. And no, I don't think I'd have done that either. But I saw a hypnotist in my first year at university, and then it all kind of went
Yeah. What was the performance like?
It was a guy called Martin S. Taylor, and it was very good actually. I was lucky because a lot of hypnosis shows, I guess, are pretty tacky stuff, and his wasn't at all. It was really fascinating. It was funny, but you were kind of laughing with it rather than at anybody. So he was my only role model. So when I started off, I kind of very much did things in his mold, and I had questions and answers afterwards and everything. But ended up doing more magic, like close-up magic. But then that suggestion-based stuff was always, to me, the really interesting heart of it all.
Is it an addiction to seeing that moment of surprise in people's faces where they think they know what they're going to expect, and then you manage to confound them even then?
I don't think it is that. I think what it actually is, which again is something you have to grow out of, is hiding behind something that makes you look impressive. It is the shortest, most fraudulent route to impressing people. People look at something that is literally in front of you in your hands and go, "Oh, you're amazing." So thus it's no surprise that magicians are a bit of an odd bunch, and often when you see a magic performance, it's just a lot of ego. Actually, one of the nice things about the show I'm doing now, which I'm not in, but the show Unbelievable, which is at the Criterion at the moment, we decided not to use magicians. We've used musicians and actors and trained them in the magic stuff. And it's so different because there's none of that weird ego stuff, and you can actually craft a show and you can write it with a beginning, middle and end and everything. It's lovely.
Is there a thing where you meet people who are very experienced magicians who have taken it on as a persona and they have a sort of stench of magic about them that you can't abide?
Yeah, and sometimes quite literally a stench of magic about them. Yeah. No, it's a bit of a funny world because you do it to impress. So, for me, all in my 20s, I'd have found it very hard to sit and have a normal conversation. I had to impress. So I had tricks in my pocket, or I could talk about hypnosis, or I could show you a trick. But actually, just simply, being a normal, nice person, was sort of difficult and uneasy. So I think that's why. I think that's its appeal for people that do it. That's why it's a lot of shy young men for some reason. Less so now, but it's always been a very male-dominated thing. But not like cool young men, like definitely sort of shy young men. Not that they're not cool in their own way, but it's definitely had that sort of slightly insecure thing. It definitely fills that gap if that's what you need.
Like heavy metal and professional wrestling, I would say. It attracts a sort of similar type of
Really?
person.
Is that true?
I think so.
I love that.
I would say maybe the sweaty of head, the lank of hair would be drawn to it. Well, thank you very much for showing me this wonderful cafe.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, friends of ours. Should we crack
Move
on?
on.
To the next place.
Oh, that's now Schnitzel Heaven.
It's a schnitzel heaven. Begs the question, where's schnitzel hell? Somewhere. Have you heard of the ancient deists of Hoxton?
I have not. Is that a thing?
I thought for some reason, because you lived here, maybe you'd know about it, but they had their headquarters in Hoxton Square. They were a sort of society in the 1700s of people who thought they were in direct communication with God.
Right.
Or like lots of different types of deities.
Right.
Sort of magicians and philosophers, prophets and things like that.
Only in Hoxton. That's fantastic.
I was going to say, sort of nothing's really changed that much. There's sort of people, I think they were like sort of what are they called? Theosophy people, when they sort of try and combine philosophy and religion and things like that.
Rudolf Steiner and all of that stuff.
Yeah. They were sort of leading up to that. Does it feel nice to come back here?
It really does, yeah. There's the little park we just passed where I used to walk the dog.
Oh.
And I was thinking it'd be nice to bring them back here and see if they'd have the same... Do dogs get nostalgia? Do they have the same...
Funny you mentioned
You said like
that.
you know the answer, go on.
Well, I took my dog back to the street in which he was born. To see if there'll be any flicker of recognition.
Nothing.
Do you know what? He sat down in front of the house in which he was born. Now, it might be because he was very tired, and I've been walking him all the way around Victoria Park, and we just got to this house, and I think I hesitated, so he sat down, but it was directly in front of his place of birth.
So was he taking a cue from you? We just don't know. Did he any indication he wanted to stay there or go in, or just that he...
He just stopped for a bit. I mean, it's more questions than answers, really.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a moment where he sort of stopped and he sat. But I don't know if there is really that much nostalgia. He doesn't seem to remember things from 1 minute to the next, let alone from 6 years ago.
It reminds me of those learned pigs and horses and dogs and I've seen it, where the dog's given a mathematical, simple maths,
The dog is
4 plus 2, and the dog will bark the right number. And it's a really interesting thing that the owner... Oh, we're here. The owner... Because the owner knows the answer, all the owner's doing is making some tiny shift within themselves, not on purpose. There's not a scam, but they do something, and the dog's got very good at picking up on that sense of that's correct from the owner and knows to stop.
Genuinely does feed into stuff that you do, because owning a dog, I've realised, makes you very, very aware of like tiny micro gestures, tiny ones.
Yes.
So other people will see my dog and be acting in a way that I just know will either get him overexcited, upset him, calm him down, and it's like things with the shoulders, or it's the way they're turning to face or not face, and they seem like enormous things to me because I'm used to the dog. Basically, I'm just used to being.
They're very funny
the
about
dog.
posture, aren't they? Doodle is she does not like bad posture, strange posture. And we used to visit a place, and there was an old lady who used to come up our house and cross the road, and she was properly kyphotic, properly bent over, like right over, like you do see some people like that, and she got a proper earful every time Doodle got out of the car.
I find anyone with a sort of uncommon gait,
yes, exactly,
they definitely come in for a blasting.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've arrived.
As well, they should.
Our second location. Do you want to say where we are?
Hi, Hello, this is Orhan's Tailors, also on Pitfield Street. Are we allowed in? Is that? Oh, yeah. Hi. So, used to come here all the time, and never had a suit made, but this was great for getting things adjusted and so on. Used to come here a lot. But my fondest memory here was this was the first place I came after lockdown lifted, and obviously that had been such a strange time, as we all used to say, and it was the first time I came somewhere and spoke to someone in a shop that I knew, who was Joe and Orhan, who runs the place. And there was this really strong feeling of that we'd all been through this sort of adventure, and now here you are again, you're back, this funny little bit of life is back again, and you managed to survive it, I survived it, and I kind of just wanted to give them a big hug and say, isn't it amazing that we're alive and we all did this thing? But of course, you don't do that because you're sort of being a customer in a shop. But it felt like, when they restore an old painting, and just for a minute you see all the colours as they're supposed to be, and then gradually it gets all dusty again. But it was that real moment of just what it was to be human amongst other humans. And I always associate it with coming in here, because that was the first time I really felt that, wow, we've all been through this thing, life and death stuff together.
Yeah, everyone has a similar
do they?
Post-lockdown thing, I think, where they have that moment, it's almost like a sort of transcendent feeling of connectivity with London itself.
Yeah.
Yours happened to be in a small tailor in
yes,
Hoxton.
Also the buttons are nice.
Yeah. Inevitably, mine was in a pub, I think. Orhan, who owns it.
Yes.
Nice man.
Very nice man. Very, very nice man, who sadly is not here. But yeah, lovely. It's a really lovely place. This little bit of Hoxton is really charming. It all feels like, I don't know what old Hoxton was like, and I'm sure this wasn't here, but it feels like that. It was a lovely little bit of old East End without being, but it isn't. It's all I guess quite hipstery and not really that old at all. But it's a charming bit, and it's such a lovely bit, and you can get a suit made, and I should really be on the wall with all these people here. There's clearly been a terrible mistake. There he is, look, there's the man. There's Orhan.
There's Orhan. There's a lovely black and white photo.
It'll be nothing for our listeners.
Of Orhan. Well, no, they'll come in and see him. Raise a glass. He looks like a very characterful chap.
It's a lovely picture.
Yeah, it's good. It's very nice. As a person that's involved in illusions and things like that,
yes.
When you look at tailoring jackets,
are
you sort of thinking about hidden pocket potential?
Yeah, one of the recent presidents of the Magic Circle was a tailor, and his family were tailors, and it was all about that, all about how do you hide a dove? How do you hide a dove in a tuxedo?
Yeah, there's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Even if you're not involved in magic, to be honest, that's something that keeps me awake at night.
It's still a big question. Yeah, they do. They manage to do it. I'm always in awe. It's funny that something like dove magic, I just know nothing about it. And it's funny to be so in the world of magic and yet utterly fooled like a child by just one branch like that I've just never been something I've looked into. So yeah, very clever jackets do help with that.
And I'm assuming a sort of rubber inside which you can just wipe clean.
I would hope so, otherwise we're back to that problem again.
Yeah, we are.
keep going there, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I think it's a recurring feature in any podcast about London is feculence.
Sheer feculence.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Shall we move on to our next place?
We move. Bye, Orhans. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Love Thy Neighbourhood is sponsored by FreeNow, the mobility super app. Thanks to FreeNow, I can get to where I need to go in London in a private ride, black cab, e-scooter or e-bike. One app, more ways to travel. Feel free now.
So we're now entering my world where I used to live.
This was it. So you walked around this square, Hoxton Square.
All the time. So this here, which is now closed, was Bill's.
Bill's, yes.
So we're on the corner of Hoxton Square, and this has been a number of. It was Blue Bar famously. It was then Blue Note, I think, or something. It's been like
Bass Clef.
Bass Clef, is that it? Thank you. Been a number of jazz bars over the years. It's also, as you can see there, where James Parkinson discovered Parkinson's disease, which is kind of amazing.
Did you like Bill's?
I loved Bill's. So I would come here. This is before I got into friends of ours. I would come here probably 3 meals a day.
So if that hadn't have happened, maybe Bill's would still be open.
We probably would still be open. And it was interesting because I would come here a lot. Very friendly with the staff. I would have them over at mine for roof parties.
Oh.
Had them over at Christmas one year, and they'd bring me my food because I used to just literally just
There's something very Dickensian about that.
It was
having the
so-
staff come up
So
to you.
lo- I still have lots of their. I hope Mr. Bill himself isn't listening from his pad in Lewis or wherever he is. But I used to nick a lot of their crockery because they'd bring stuff over, and with the best will in the world, I didn't always get to give it all back. I'd find the odd bit. So still, many years later,
Well, I'm sure you made it up to them. No, I
I'm trying to do that
only
now.
I knew about bass clef just through. I'm a fan of jazz, and it
Right.
was. I think that was the beginning of the acid jazz thing in the '90s. All those bands, big ones like Jamiroquai. I think it all started with the club and the record label that was based out of here. It was
I
there
didn't
for a
know.
while.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's lovely. And a weird thing that happens, you go on tour and you come back and all the staff have changed. So this kind of lovely relationship you build up with the place suddenly just disappears. And every year I was having to sort of start again. And then I think something happened to Bill's. I think they a few of them started closing down. It kind of, something changed and then it went. And then it was this place that says Havana there. So that's what it became afterwards, which was clearly a front for something.
Didn't
There's
last
never
long.
anybody in it. And now that's closed too, which is probably
Do you
a
like
good
the
thing.
the touring, the relentless tour? Is it a nice way to sort of break up time? And
I do like it. I'm very pleased with this show now. Unbelievable that I'm not having to do it every night. It's nice to actually have that experience of like putting the work in and then letting other people get on with it. But I do love touring. But the difficulty is, however much you love it, if you have got a partner at home, they're left with all the boring stuff, and it's hard to sort of, it's sort of unavoidable. And my partner's a performer, so he kind of gets it. But even then, it's just.
But I assume as
difficult.
well, like part of the reasons that they love you is because of your passion for your work and what you've managed to do with your work. So the schedule is just part and parcel of that.
It's
In a
part of
weird
it.
way, they might love that as
Yeah.
well in a strange way.
It's hard though, and I think any performer gets it. It's a tricky thing. You're on the road for a long time, and it just feels like you're off having fun with your friends, which you sort of are, while someone's at home dealing with all the domestic stuff. Plus, we were doing a house up at the time as well, so he did have the rough end of the stick.
I mean, it probably shows that you're a good person
It does
because you're
What
thinking about the person at home
Not really.
sometimes in passing. It's crossing your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
When
that's
I'm
cold
getting
comfort.
an earful of it at night on the phone.
Yeah.
But no, it is the thing. So I think as you get older, you kind of start to work out how to balance those kind of things with make sure your relationship is the priority, not just the fun of touring.
Should we stroll around the square a little bit, do you think?
Yeah, let's have it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
this is Hoxton Square itself.
Yes.
And there's a funny statue in it, which I remember going up, and I put a bust in the woods when we moved out. Had a lot of stuff,
Yes.
and there was quite a nice bust. And I thought I will leave it in the woody bit at the side.
A kind of offering.
Yeah, because it would look like a sort of a statue, so it won't be immediately nicked, maybe. But I think it was. I think it was gone within a.
Well, maybe the person who
within a
nicked it is
day.
listening, and now they know that they have something of immense
Yeah,
shamanic
Darren
value.
Brown's bust.
Yes. I
If
think
you found
I think that the big sculpture that you're drawing attention to there is by the artist Stick. I might be
Oh,
wrong.
you know this? Okay, great.
I think
Well,
it's one of the very famous street artists.
Ah, okay, there you go. Well, I remember it going up. It was a lot yellower. It's absolutely filthy now. God, it was bright yellow last time I saw that.
Once things take on a certain level of filth, I feel they become more part of London.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I know that you've written about sort of contentment and happiness and things like. Maybe not everyone who listens to this will know about the stuff you've written about sort of well-being. Was the lockdown period challenging in that respect, or did it sort of actually make you kind of knuckle down and work out what it was to be happy because there were so many challenges to it?
Yeah, it was interesting because I'd noticed I'd written this book, Happy, which was about Stoicism and sort of essentially Greek philosophy a couple of years before. And I remember noticing that after I'd written it, I was then going out and giving talks on it and sort of feeling unhappy. I didn't really know why, and I felt a bit hypocritical. And I realised it was just because I'd finished writing it. So there was this sort of gap, the act of doing something like that, a big creative project, had in itself been a source of happiness, and suddenly without it, I felt a bit just sort of, at a loose end and dissatisfied and irritable. And I find the same thing when I come off tour. So I think that feeling of, we get happiness out of meaning. Meaning is what gives us happiness, really. And you get a sense of meaning in life from finding something that's bigger than yourself and then losing yourself in that thing. And doesn't have to be anything in itself meaningful. It's just that it absorbs you in that way, and and also being of meaning to other people, knowing that somebody needs you or that you're of value to somebody else. That's another strange source of happiness. And those ways of finding happiness are so much more effective than trying to chase it directly, because when we do that, it always slips through our fingers.
I suppose it's hard not to sort of just focus on a few things and think, if I just have this, I'll be happy. As someone that's obviously thought about it and written about it at length, are you aware when these feelings come up, when they are sort of quote-unquote false happiness? You're like, no, let's not pursue that in order for meaning.
Or just at least knowing that, I mean, particularly with things, if I have this thing, I'll be happy. I mean, I guess maybe as you get older, you've had enough experience of that hedonic treadmill, as they call it. You get it, and then for a minute you're like, wow, and then you're back to where you were. Your natural levels of happiness resume.
Once your house can hold no more sort of cutlery and plates and bowls from all the cafes in the vicinity of your house, then maybe that's the end.
It's how you make your peace with the fact that life's inherently dissatisfying that matters, not trying to make it satisfying by cramming it with things that you think might bring you pleasure.
Yeah, and do you think you've taken on so many different pursuits, painting, writing, books, stage, for people who sort of maybe don't have an opportunity to do that many things like that, they go to work and they have a family. Is it still possible to attain that sort of contentment, do you think? Or will there always be a thing in people's minds that sort of wants to aspire to something quote-unquote great?
But part of the problem with that is trying to aspire to a kind of contentment. I think there's just this sort of unspoken thing that there is something we should be doing, and if we haven't got that contentment, if we haven't got that happiness, then we somehow failed. And that's just it's just wrong. Life is, by its nature, if you imagine a graph, and on one axis you've got all the stuff you want to do, your plans and your aims and what you think you should be, and then the other axis is all the stuff that life is throwing back at you. They used to call it fortune. And we actually live this kind of x equals y diagonal line, a sort of an undulating line where sometimes we're on top and things are going great, and then the next minute something horrible happens and we're pulled in the other direction. And that is the nature of life. So much of it, I think, is just about making your peace with that. So the Stoics had acceptance, not trying to control the things that you can't, realizing that there is no work-life balance. As Oliver Burkeman puts it, we have this sort of time is the medium through which life just unfolds. It's not this sort of resource that we have to use correctly, otherwise we're messing it up. It's okay that it's dissatisfying and difficult. I think once you kind of make your peace with that, then there is a certain sort of happiness, or a certain liberating something that just creeps in and softens the edges.
But we should be suspicious of full happiness, maybe.
Yeah, well, all this comes from a very American model, which in turn came from the Calvinist movement. It's a very Protestant thing of like, work hard and you will be saved, right? So that's now become, set your goals, believe in yourself, do everything correctly, and you'll be happy. The universe will provide. And it's just nonsense. And the trouble with it is that when it doesn't work, when the universe doesn't provide, you think it's your own fault. You weren't doing it correctly. It's the same model that those faith healers use when they say, throw away your pills. And if you don't get better, it's because you didn't have enough faith. It's the same thing. It's a really insidious kind of lie. And the reality is, this is what life's like. How do you make your peace with that? And the only hard work to be done is just that. It's not about setting your goal. The trouble with goal setting is it's great until you achieve your goal, and then what? If you don't achieve your goal, you failed. If you do, what happens next? Sometimes, arriving somewhere at the end of a destination is just, the only reward might just be the feeling of, taking your coat off and relaxing. It's not that thing of the journey being the thing, not the destination, is so important. And all of that goal setting, it's fine for short-term stuff, like you want to learn a language or learn to drive a car or whatever. But the long-term stuff is, you've got to be really, really careful of it, because it might be that actually losing yourself in the process of trying to achieve that goal, building up a company or whatever it is you're doing, that might be your source of happiness, not what you think it is at the end. So when you get there, you might find it oddly empty and sad.
No more worlds to conquer.
No more worlds to conquer, yeah.
If any curious listener wanted to dip a toe into Stoic philosophy, is there an author or a particular book?
Yes, there's a book by Derren Brown called Happy, which I think explains it all brilliantly and wittily. And
that
in
sounds
an accessible way. Oh, there's a doggy in the park.
It's a lovely dog.
I don't know that dog. I should know all the dogs here.
It's doing the thing we were talking about before.
It's doing the thing we were talking about. What is that?
Yeah, I don't want this podcast to become synonymous with
I hope
that
he's
sort
going
of
to clear
thing.
that up. No, she's pretending not to have seen. I hate that.
Yeah, that's bad behaviour.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she's been exposed on a popular podcast.
Yeah. If the
She's a
police
fool
are
to
listening,
herself.
she's about 5'8", all in black, shoulder length,
Yeah.
blonde hair.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, no, thank you very much for showing me your happy place here in the
Yeah.
square.
Hoxton Square. Oh,
Let's move on.
let's move on. I think I'm always interested in which the show is about. I realise I keep going back to this show I'm doing, but
No, please do.
So the show Unbelievable is sort of, we always try to make the magic about something else, but it's sort of, for me, it's about, we look at other people, we see the best part of themselves normally, that is what they're trying to present, and we make this mistake of comparing their outsides, which is sort of vaguely together and impressive, but we don't compare it to our outsides, we compare it to our insides, which contains all of the embarrassing, awkward,
Yes.
clumsy, ugly, weird, aggressive, all of that stuff. And of course, that means we just come down badly at ourselves
Absolutely,
all the time.
yeah.
And it's a category mistake. It's just that it's a really bad comparison. And it struck me as like a magic trick, that you have the bit that you show the world, and then you have the bit that you keep hidden, because if anybody sees that bit, it'll, bring the whole illusion tumbling down. But it is all theatre.
Do you put much stead in personality types and things like that? I've never been sure about it, like broad personality types.
Yeah, I've never been sure about it either. I think it holds up. I think it's sort of useful. I mean, probably if you're choosing a partner and want a sort of an easy life, I think there's something about, similar personality types. Although I think but I would say it's much more interesting and valuable to negotiate or navigate your differences with, some kind of
Right.
I don't know, easy grace is more important than those personality types and who you'd match with. So I'm sure there's something to it. It just doesn't quite gel with where I think, which is much more along individual,
Yes.
private lives. The personal experience of life is what interests me more than stats.
Well, the stats thing, the types thing, it's sort of very popular with younger people now. There's the Myers-Briggs personality test and things, and you've spoken before about sort of faith healers and sort of confidence tricksters and charlatans. People like to be shown stuff that suddenly sounds true. Like they'll hear something, and then the moment you do that, they will just go along with it. And I feel that with the personality types thing, which is big in business now as well, sort of like management courses to go, are you a fire type or a wind type, and things like that.
We love an easy system.
Yeah.
But look, it's what magic's about. We have a really bad relationship with mystery in the West. We've sort of, when things are difficult and ambiguous and complicated and mysterious, we don't really know what to do with any of that. It's interesting. Psychology is, if you think about all the various types and statistics and so on that it gives us, all of which are very valuable, but the one thing that will be missing from any of that is the individual, right? So if you decide that the average weight of a pebble on the beach is whatever, 3.52 grams, that might be true, but you're very unlikely to find an actual pebble of that weight.
Yes.
So we sort of live in this world where the world of that scientific thinking around the human experience never quite matches up to our actual lived experience of it.
No.
So there is this there's this discrepancy, and that's everything that's mysterious about ourselves and is sort of unknown. And to me, it's a really important thing, because what maps in the personal experience also maps into relationships and into society, right? So
Sure.
There are these sides of us that are mysterious and are unknown, and there might be things that we've sort of banished and hidden there because we're told they're bad, or things we've just never really kind of looked at or whatever. So you develop these kind of sides that Jung called the shadow side, and they do develop a certain power because it's all the things that are unconscious. And a recurring theme in fairy stories and so on is the evil stepmother that's banished from the christening, and then she turns up and lays a curse on the baby. And it resonates because these things that we banish gain a certain power and do curse us. If you don't deal with if you're closeted something and you're not dealing with that, it's going to come back and bite you.
Well, our conflict-averse shadow selves have arrived
segue.
at the fourth location. Do you want to say where we are?
We're at the Owl and the Pussycat. We're on a pub on Redchurch Street. I'm really intrigued to go in because it looks really nice. It's got this lovely old green Victorian tiles, and
It does.
it's got a nice and it's got a plaque saying the British Institute of Innkeeping.
We're in safe hands. Let's go in. All right, we've just purchased our drinks and sat down. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers! Ting. Thanks for having me.
No, it's been really great talking to you.
Should we just take a moment to explain the "Please May I"?
Yes. Okay. Well, we're ordering a drink downstairs, and I mentioned I was trying to bring back Please May I Have.
Please may I have.
Which has fallen out of fashion for some reason. I think it sounds a little bit polite. It sounds a bit sort of page boy. Don't know. But
that is the point, isn't it? That's part of its charm.
I think so.
But it's
Infinitely
nice.
preferable to the brash Americanisms, can I get, can I take?
Can I take? I haven't heard Can I Take, but I will hear it.
Yeah, now you listen out for it. The guy
It's horrible how
downstairs
you-
said he knew Can I Take.
Yeah, that was horrendous. It's horrible how you find yourself. I remember hearing cheers all the time. I think I'll never say that.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realise that you say it all the time. I say it all the time.
Were there magicians growing up on stage that you felt inspired by?
Yes.
Which ones?
My particular, I suppose, magical heroes would be Teller of Penn and Teller, the little quiet one. I think he's wonderful thinker and writer about magic too. A guy called Chan Kanasta, who was around in the 50s and 60s, a Polish mentalist, mind reader like me. There haven't been many of us around historically, and he was kind of wonderful. And there's footage of him around on YouTube and so on.
What was his like shtick?
It was really about manipulating people's choices. I mean, there's definitely a line from him to me. He didn't do like big stunts or anything like that. It was just working with people. He did shows on stage, stuff on television. He's a very, very charming character in a sort of tuxedo. And it was all very... Sometimes the things didn't work, and that was kind of fine. But a very believable and charismatic, powerful... I really, really think he's terrific. And a great name, Chan Kanasta.
That is a great name, yeah. In any case, we are now arriving at a time in the show where I'm going to ask you about London in general, as opposed to Hoxton specifically.
Okay, nice.
What's important is that it's your first reaction. So there's no wrong answers, it's just
There's
what your
no
first...
wrong answers, unless they're about, Newcastle.
Then that's the wrong answer.
Yeah, okay,
crucially. What is your 5-star pint?
Can I go martini?
Absolutely.
Would you hate me if I said Claridge's?
No, that sounds quite nice.
Okay.
Everyone loves Claridge's. Is the martini dirty?
No, it's not. I like it extra painfully, aggressively dry with a twist. Very much. Or a Gibson occasionally. But yeah, I'm not an olive fan. And with vodka. And Claridge's just do a really nice one. I'm so sorry if that's hateful.
Don't apologise. You are who/what
I
you are.
don't eat there or stay there, but I do go to the little bar for the occasional martini.
For the dry vodka martini. Do you have a 5-star pizza?
So Home Slice is quite nearby here, actually. We used to get those a lot, but I don't know. Can you do any better than Domino's, really?
It wouldn't be the first time it's come up on this. People do feel very warmly
I
towards
feel
Domino's.
very warmly towards Domino's and every aspect of it. Guy dropping it off is nice. It's all nice. But Home Slice is nearby here in Hoxton where we are. And that is they did a very nice chorizo and sweet corn thing that was delicious. But it's one of those restaurants, especially being in Hoxton, can you serve your food on a plate? It's like anything, slate, a chopping board, first generation iPad.
Yeah.
Just, that's a pet hate for me with restaurants. My other pet hate is when somebody serves food and then they go, and this is this, and they stick their finger on your food. I don't like that. Keep your finger away.
I don't like it also when they explain to you how to approach the menu. Have you ever had that? You sit down and they go, do you want me to tell you how to approach the menu? Like it's war.
Like it's,
Or
yes.
something like that. I'll approach the menu by ordering 3 things on it.
In the right order.
In the right order.
Yeah.
Do you have a 5-star park?
Well, I'm going to go Regent's Park for that. I used to live quite close to it. I lived on Baker Street for many years, which is kind of, I think, fits the brand. And I used to go to Regent's Park all the time. And it's really great. Having said that, again, we're in Hoxton. Haggerston Park, very lovely around the corner, but also a little bit druggy.
You can see Ian Sinclair, the famous London writer, walking around it every morning. The psycho-geographical non-fiction writer. He's always there.
And you can
walking
also see
his dog.
Darren Brown cleaning up his dog's poo sometimes. I was walking back once from the park, sort of just round close to my house, and I was with Doodle, my beagle Basset Cross. She pooed on the pavement. I didn't have a bag on me, and a lady came past and said, "I hope you're going to clean that up." I said, "Yes, no, I will. I have a bag at home." So I went back to get the bag from home, and I'm a good person, so I went back to picked the poo up, left the dog at home. So now I'm walking back. I get to the poo, and this guy and his girlfriend walk up, and they're like, "Oh, Darren Brown, we're really big fans." And we have a whole chat. I'm stood there with a bag in my pocket. We have a whole chat, and while we're talking, I sort of get it in my head. I've got to pick this poo up, and I became just aware it was there, and I thought we don't want to chat with the poo next to us. So as we're talking, I just sort of got the bag out my pocket and picked up the poo and carried on talking and tried not to make a thing of it, and eventually said goodbye to them and walked off. But yeah, that's their story, that they met me and I just picked up a dog turd from the street.
They won't forget it in a hurry. Do you have a 5-star city that isn't London?
Bristol, without a doubt. I studied there. I lived there for 10 years. I spend a lot of time there now. It's the best. It's like I would say a big secret. I think over the last couple of years or whatever, people are...
Secret's out.
The secret's definitely out there. But God, what a place. Happy, friendly, creative, buzzy, beautiful. You can be 5 minutes drive from proper countryside, 5 minutes walk from proper city centre and all the things that gives you, and you're an hour and a half from London.
Not the first nomination for Bristol. Quite a few people have said. 5-star cup of coffee.
There is a very nice place called Lally's, I think it's L-A-I'(S), on Bruton Place in Mayfair. And I had to stay there for a while I was doing my West End show. I was doing Showman last. And I loved their coffee. That was phenomenal. I like that very much. I'm actually barista trained, believe it or not.
How come?
So my answers are correct. They count for more. If anybody else has given you any other answers, they're just wrong.
And what is your 5-star cup of coffee to make as a barista trained person?
Well, I've got a very nice Marzocco machine at home, which is the beast that you want. I've got the kind of domestic version of it. I do make a very nice coffee, and I make a nice flat white.
A flat white, yeah. Did you do
Sadly,
the art with the
I do the
squiggle?
art. I do the art.
You did remark on the
I
nice
can do
art.
collapsed Christmas tree and short cock and balls.
Sounds lovely. Two things which do look quite similar to the undiscerning eye.
Yes, they can.
If you ever serve me a cup of coffee, I'm gonna. If I can tell which is which, I reckon. Yeah.
Sometimes I've thought about this. You get a cock and balls. So look carefully at your latte art, 'cause I think if you've made a fool of yourself or made yourself unpopular in the kitchen, I think it's a secret thing that some cafes do. Because if you think about the lovely kind of tulipy kind of shape that they do, if you kind of condense that, it can look a bit like genitalia. And I think they do that sometimes as a kind of fuck you thing.
The modern barista version
to the
of
customer.
gobbing in someone's drink
Exactly,
is to send out a cock and balls.
I would love. It's speculation. I'd love confirmation on that from a cafe owner. But
Please get in touch. Do you make coffee? Have you sent out a cock and balls to someone, a Michael Winner type character who's snarled at you somewhere? Do you have a 5-star takeaway?
When I lived here, it was Busaba. I got their app, and there's a reward scheme on the app, and I used to get the takeaways all the time, build up my points, and I built up the points to 250 quid bingo, which is when you get an entire free meal worth 250 quid for you and your friend. Never did it.
It's because you build up so many points, you feel that you're sort of robbing them in a way. You've used too many points.
Yeah, and then it became a bit of a, like, how long can you leave it? Can I go back now? That was like 6 years. I've just never done it. But yeah, Busaba was the takeaway for me.
Do you have, finally, a 5-star tube station?
Baker Street. So I used to live on Baker Street. I lived above Baker Street tube station. And
an incredible building, by the way. That whole...
Thank you.
Really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done.
Beautiful. Chiltern Court. I used to go from there to Westminster, which is where we had our production offices. And I used to go at a comfortable time. It's like 11 o'clock. It is, of course, the oldest tube station in London, which I always thought was very optimistic of them. And so you go down into this beautiful vaulted subway tile thing, and I always had this really lovely and I love tube journeys because you're everyone's making their way through life. Everyone's got their stuff to do, and just for a moment you're kind of flung in with everyone's difficult, messy bit between the A's and the B's and all the bits again that they show the world. It's like the inside life is just coming out for a little bit. It's just those awkward in between bits, and I always find there's something really touching. I love train journeys too. It's just the bits in between. I just love that. There's something about it I find really touching. So I used to love that journey because it was very comfortable. Time in the morning, it wasn't too busy. Beautiful train station to get into, tube station, and Westminster very nice at the other end to get out on. So yeah, I have a real fondness for Baker Street. I love it every time I go through.
It's an absolute bloody goated classic, Baker Street, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Derren Brown, this has been your Hoxton. Thank you very much for all of the insights. It's been great.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. This has been very lovely. May I shake your hand?
You're more than welcome.
Last time I was in Hoxton, we couldn't shake hands, so actually it feels weird doing it against this backdrop.
Cheers.
Such a treat. Thank you for having me.
There we go. Thank you to Mr. Derren Brown. What a nice guy. It was very inspiring hearing him talk about all of those things to do with contentment, to do with happiness, to do with life goals. It's given me a lot to think about, put it that way. And Hoxton, of course, interesting area. Lovely to hear about his reminiscences throughout lockdown. He obviously did a lot of walking here, a lot of thinking. If you want to see more of Derren do his thing, unbelievable. is on right now at the Criterion in Piccadilly Circus. It sounds quite hard to get your head around. It doesn't contain him, allegedly, and it doesn't contain any magicians, allegedly, as well, but you know what he's like. He'll find a way to get his sorcery in there somehow. It's on for 6 months. Do book a ticket now. Follow him on social media as well for more of his sort of stuff. If you liked the sound of our podcast, I hope you did, there's another episode every Tuesday. That's Love Thy Neighbourhood. Do like it. Do subscribe to it. Do give it a nice review. Every single review counts. In the meantime, still didn't come up with a catchphrase. I know that I said about by this time we would have easily thought up an outro catchphrase. Haven't done that. So I'm just going to say, cheerio. Them's the streets. Keep on streeting. Cheerio. Love Thy Neighbourhood is sponsored by FreeNow, the mobility super app. I've interviewed some pretty fascinating characters in my time as Time Out London editor, I've grilled actors, I've endured the bad boy chiller crew, and I've even hung out with the king. But the people with the best anecdotes are always the humble black cab drivers, aka the Knights of the Road. What's more, they have access to the bus lanes so they can get you to where you need to be quick smart. With FreeNow, I can book an audience with one of these wise and powerful drivers in just a few swift taps. Oh, and sorry, by the king, I meant the guy who makes the falafel wraps in 7 Dials. I'm on my way, my falafel king.